Well, I think it's widely known that the majority of the population have an absolute fear of public speaking, and I understand that. They would, I think, prefer to have a cup of tea and a lie down, and even the professionals face this dilemma from time to time. Annalie Blundell, a professional speaker and people whisperer, knows only too well, she tells us. Good afternoon, Annalie.
Hi, Jenny. I'll take that cup of tea and a lie down any day, thank you.
Why? I wonder why. Look, I can understand it to a point that people aren't confident in having everyone's attention on them at the time. Is it the fact that we put too much pressure on ourselves? I'm simplifying it a bit here and thinking we have to be word perfect, we have to get their attention immediately. I mean, why do we have such a fear of this?
Well, yeah, I think it is those things and a whole lot more. So one of the things when it comes to public speaking, and it doesn't have to be speaking on stage, let me just say that up front. So most of the population are not professional speakers, yet we do need to speak in front of other people, whether it's something as simple as I need to speak up in a meeting or I need to run the meeting, or perhaps at work I have to speak at a town hall, which is a larger meeting. And what tends to happen is the more eyes there are on you, the more the stakes increase and the more the adrenaline and the stress levels go up.
Yeah, I think it's this word perfection, I think, sneaks in, and they think, well, they're judging me on the way I look, the way I've done my hair. If it's a bloke, I hope my tie's straight, hope my shoes are shiny, all those things. But you've got professionals on television, behind a camera for a film, that sort of thing. They seem to be extremely comfortable. Does that come with time?
It comes with time and it comes with practice. So practice is a big one. Also, they will have had a lot of help, Jenny. So you'll find that people who are on TV, they've had media training, they've got people who are looking after their wardrobe. You know, you've seen the movies where they say cut and then someone runs in and powders the person's nose.
Doesn't that happen normally?
Not in my world, I wish.
No, it is interesting. But the funny thing about being behind a camera, which I did for many, many years, is you never think anyone at home is watching. You've just got a crew. You've got a crew standing behind the cameras and you think that's all you're talking to.
Yeah.
It's comforting.
Yeah, it's funny because, and I think there's actually a trick to that, Jenny. So that might be something that, you know, the rest of us, people who aren't in front of the television, can take away, because one of the things that we know is what makes it intimidating is if you are standing up in front of, 100 eyeballs, it's easy to get nervous, but if you're standing up and you forget the fact that you're in front of maybe 1 million viewers at home and you can just look at the crew or look at that one stage manager and just talk to them, you might find it a little bit easier to be you.
Yeah, well, I think, if you've got an audience, live audience in front, you've got individual people, they're not representing themselves as a total crowd and all thinking the same. So we have to get that through to our head. But I think it goes back to being at school, getting up and standing in class and having to repeat something that you've just learned or whatever that might be. And we're really not taught, are we, to present ourselves in any way like that at a young age?
That's right. And I think added to that is I'm not sure that everyone's had the most affirming experience in school. So, maybe you've been asked to read on the spot and you're a little bit nervous with the words and maybe you fumbled and you were corrected. And so depending on how that kind of exchange happened, you might have had a situation where you felt embarrassment, maybe you felt some shame. And, the things that happen to us when we're early in our lives, they tend to
hang around,
take hold. That's right.
Well, they absolutely do. You're right. Now, as a professional speaker, I'm sure that you in the early stages probably came up against that a little bit yourself. I mean, there's nothing really wrong with before you go on stage or before you sit behind a microphone to do preparation and have everything in front of you. Not word for word. I don't mean that written word for word, because otherwise it comes across, like a Q&A thing. But what have you learnt about controlling nerves?
Well, the one thing about controlling nerves is you're never going to control them with the view of getting rid of them. Because the thing about nerves is nerves equal care. If you're not nervous standing up and speaking in front of that group, it's probably because you don't care enough. Think about it.
Yeah.
You know, you stand up in front of a group of, you know, kindergarten kids and you don't really care if you fumble on a word. They don't know the word. So, you know, so
point.
you can relax a lot. But if it's your peers and you think they're going to judge you, it means you care. You want to get it right. So let's just agree that nerves are a part of caring, and it shows that this is important to you and you want to do a good job. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
As far as what I've learned from being a professional speaker is that nerves is not something that will go away. And so even recently I did an online keynote presentation. We had 2,700 people on the call, and I have a Fitbit watch, and I was standing still, Jenny. I kid you not. I'm standing dead still, and I'm eyeballing the camera, and I'm about to go live, and my watch goes beep, beep, beep. You're doing high-intensity activity.
Your heart rate went up. Yeah.
I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm definitely standing still. But my heart rate was up because I could feel the adrenaline. And I just remember one of my mentors saying once, Annalie, you will not get rid of the butterflies, but they will fly in formation.
Yeah, good point, isn't it? Stress response is not your enemy, as you're saying. I find in the situations, I don't want to refer to myself a lot, but I'm thinking about experiences of when you've had to get up and do a talk, guest speaker or whatever it might be, that if you do have that anxiety in your stomach, if you slow your speech down, you won't and ah anymore. You really start to take control. But if you could get your nerves take over and you speak too quickly, then you start to stumble and you don't like what you're doing.
And that's also one of the assumptions that we make. If you're speaking too quickly, it can be a sign of nerves. So when you're able to slow down your speech, it means your breathing is slow. It means that you're not hijacked, we would say, by that nervous state of emotion.
Yeah.
And it means that you're also giving yourself more time to connect into what it is you want to say, to focus your attention outward on the audience and not inside to your internal experience and what they're thinking of you.
Yeah.
And, you know, that can really calm you as well so that you can stay more grounded in your body and more connected to your message and the audience.
When we have elections coming up and we have every politician saying how wonderful they are, which is, you know, the sort of thing I suppose they're meant to do because we need to like them. They need to be likeable. And if they don't have that connection to people as a normal person and they think they are a little bit superior or they can solve the world's problems, people can see through that, can't they?
Of course. And I mean, we know that politicians are very well media trained. And so they're trained to not only handle the nerves, but they're also trained to avoid certain topics and to answer other topics in a generic, high-level way that does not put off people and aligns the majority of people to their message because it's something we can agree on, right? So they're very well trained on how to be succinct and how to pitch in a way that more people will agree with their message and do it in a way that seems more credible. But again, this is not something, you don't roll out of bed and, you know, you're ready for the TV interview.
No.
They've had training for this.
Yeah. Sometimes we don't want them to look too overtrained. We do want them to relate. I mean, we're talking politicians now, but we've had politicians that have been down to earth and the public love them. I won't even bother going there, but it's what about body language?
Well, body language is really important because it sends unconscious cues of competence and warmth. And so, you know, we might say the exact right words, to your point about scripting, we might say the exact right words so our message is tight, but if our body language is undermining our confidence or our competence, it means it's going to undo the value of that message. So that might be something like we're unable to handle our nerves and we've got a nervous tick. So So we're fiddling with something, with, change in our pocket, or we're clicking a pen, God forbid, or we're playing with our hair or our jewellery or something, right? So these are sort of social smoothing, I call them. These are habits that we are using to calm ourselves down and make ourselves feel more comfortable. So it's a comfort factor. But what it does is send a message that says, I'm under stress.
Yeah, and we want to feel confidence in the person that's speaking on that particular subject. The thing about, I suppose, body language I'm getting at too is people that overemphasise. They walk across the stage from side to side. They throw their arms out. To me that comes across as being rather patronising. So there's a medium there somewhere, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely. And what we learn from the world of professional speaking is that the size of your gestures, the tonality or the volume of your voice, all of that stuff needs to match the size of the audience. So if I'm sitting one-on-one with someone, I've got very small gestures. If I'm in a room and I've got 60 people, I'm going to gesture a little bit wider to take in the room. If I'm in an auditorium and there's 2,000 people in that room, my arms are as wide as I can make them.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I'm opening up, because I'm being expansive. Otherwise, I will be too diminutive, and I will shrink into the space. And I need to encompass the size of the room in my gestures.
I get that too. But as long as it's not premeditated and it looks artificial, I think that's what the important part is there too. Yes. What about, I read somewhere that if you connect with somebody's eye line, like in the audience for a brief time, you're personally speaking to them, and you do that from time to time with different people in the audience. Do you suggest that happen?
That's a great thing to do. And in fact, there's different strategies around this, but what we know is what one individual feels in the audience, the majority feel in the audience. So if I'm talking and I'm looking above everyone's head and I'm never really connecting with anyone, it looks like I'm just throwing my words to the ether,
Yeah, that's right.
But if every now and then I scan the room and I land on someone and I make a personal connection and I talk directly to them, they will respond in a way that says, I feel seen, I'm part of the conversation. So that individual experience, what happens is the rest of the people in the audience feel the same feeling.
Yeah, as that person,
Yes,
I get
correct.
that. Annie, could I ask you who you have admired as a public speaker? It doesn't have to be Australian, it could be anywhere around the world, that you said, oh my gosh, I really I like what he's talking about or she's talking about.
Yeah, oh gosh, this feels like who's your favourite friend, Annalie? Because I work in the space of professional speaking. That's part of the ways I do my work. I get to see many people on stage, and so I think for me it's a little hard to choose one individual. But what I can share is, for me, there's a couple of qualities. So I'll sort of pick from a couple of different people here, but there's a couple of qualities that I think make the biggest difference, and that is any speaker who is genuine. And I say that to your point, the message might not be perfect, but it's real.
Yep, I would.
And they have a genuine connection. So you know that when they're with the audience, they're really with the audience. That's another one. In fact, someone who does this really well is, she's not a professional speaker, but she is an Australian icon. It's Kate Sobrano.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I just saw her in concert the other week, and she is a master at making the audience feel like they are part of one big experience. Like we're all in this together and we're with her. She was just masterful at that.
That's because you've got confidence in yourself without being overconfident. That means you're comfortable in what you do. You love what you do. You love talking to people. Normally, off the stage, you like talking to people. And I've said this 1,000 times. People are sick of me saying it. My favourite international speaker of all times would have to have been Obama. And why do you think? Why do you think him?
He,
Why do you think him?
Well, I'd be curious to know why you think.
Okay, all right. Well, what I found with him, number one, he's quite gentle in his approach, the way he speaks. He very gently speaks, quite slowly, and he speaks to the camera to the left. And then he wants to bring up another point, but he very slowly, but he keeps your attention. He turns over to the right and he delivers another statement or not a question, but a statement or whatever. And it's his gentleness, and he's not overselling. Like we've got an American president at the moment.
So what's really interesting about that is, of course, he's got a couple of key factors around what he does that makes him so impactful. Is that you're right? One is the cadence. So he speaks with a measured tone.
Yes,
and there's a rhythm to the way that he speaks. So he's got a measured tone, but it's not monotone, which is important.
Yep.
He has that nice modulation of his voice where we're going up and down, and it's showing different qualities and interests. And he also has a lot of pause in the way he communicates. So he's very clearly punctuating, and he probably does this, to your point, with the camera. I'm looking to the left, I'll land a point, I'll punctuate and pause, and then I move to the right for my next piece.
Exactly.
And here it comes.
Yeah.
So I think that he does that really well. The other thing I think that's really important, and he might do this also, is, to be effective in that space, what I often tell people is feel the emotion that you want your audience to feel.
Yeah, good point, yeah.
You want them to be engaged. Yeah, you want them to feel good or be interested. Then you be interested. If you want them to be engaged, then make sure you're engaging.
Well, you've got to believe in what you're talking about. You've got to believe in your message, don't you? Because otherwise it comes across as a hard sell, quite frankly.
And I actually think that's what you just pointed out. That level of personal conviction is really compelling, because it's like, I don't need to sell anything to you. I'm not trying to convince you. I have a level of congruence and clarity about my truth.
Yep.
And that's all I'm here to do.
That's exactly what your audience want to know about. And you're right. And let's, look at the kids at school, at high school, if they do have to get up and speak, even primary school, give them a bit of confidence, the teachers, the parents, if you get them to speak at a family do or whatever, give them, say, yeah, it was great, love. I really enjoyed you talking about that. That's where it can start, I believe. I think you and I have been talking all our lives, and we're okay with it. That's all we do.
Yeah. And it's so important to start small, and I think that is a beautiful example of how we need to be reinforcing the small steps that people take to start building and honing those skills that are going to become even more important in the workforce than they are already, because we're losing that social skill foundation that we grew up with. We had to pick up the phone, we had to speak up in a meeting, and now we can be on a Teams call and turn our cameras off. Like, what? What do you mean? Since when?
You're absolutely right, Elodie. It's just lovely to speak to you as always. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jenny. I appreciate it.
Thank you.